you ready for this?
Gonna be fun.
You will not stand in my way.
Frostborn. Hunger. This pleases me.
I do not fear you, mortal.
Your soul shall be mine.
Don't make me laugh.
Needs a brew? Oh, I do. Feel a shredding, baby. Let the battle begin.
So hello and welcome to the 47th episode of the Nexus Trolls, a podcast all about Heroes of the Storm, part of the Trolls.gg podcast network. So I'm your host, Linus Daz Kilius, and I'm joined today, as always, by LiQuiuD and Mystic. How's it going, boys?
It's going good, man.
Have you guys been creeping into the PTR? I spent some time on the PTR today.
A little bit.
Yeah, a bit here and there.
Is that your tactful way of saying no?
I mean, I have a lot going on.
The awkward silence. Yeah, a little bit. Well, it's tough though. I mean, you go in unless you want to play AI games, you're waiting forever in queues, right? So, I mean, I just played a couple AI games with Anna just to see what she was like. Did you guys have you had any chance to play Anna at all, Mystic?
I've played her a little bit, not a lot, but she seems very. I don't know how to say it. Her strengths and weaknesses are very pronounced. So.
Yes, and I mean we're going to be talking a ton about that because Anna is coming to the Nexus next week, and she's in the PTR. If you didn't get the hint about that already. So today we're going to be talking about Anna. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the new map that's going to be dropping too. Just our first impressions for all these things, because as you can probably guess, we haven't had a ton of time to play a lot of it. I've played Volskaya Industries I think twice. We're going to do Leoric Take 3. Because LiQuiuD, I think a little bit nervous maybe with Cavalier guests. It's like having your boss looking over your shoulder, right? It's not the exact kind of thing you want. But I'm sure you want to have a take on him, free of the person looking over your shoulder.
Cavalier guest,
being
right
like,
there.
well, actually, no, LiQuiuD, you're wrong. It's not like that at all, right? It's a little bit easier when you have people that are a little less critical too. I mean, we love Cavalier guest. He's got great analysis. But it is tough, like you said, it's almost like having your boss looking over your shoulder too. We'll have LiQuiuD's eSports Corner as per usual and Mystic Shakedown, and we're going to be going over a balance patch. There's a balance patch and PTR patch, both kind of came down on us nearly at the same time. So we're going to be talking about the balance patch. We're not really going to touch on the PTR patch much today. We're going to leave that till next week, just for sake of timing, and plus it's not even live yet anyways, so it's a little bit more linear if we do it this way. But before we start the show, as per always, we want to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/trollsgg. If you're looking for a way to support the show, you can head over to patreon.com/trollsgg. You can toss us a few bucks there. It's always a great way to do so, and it's much appreciated. I believe myself and LiQuiuD are going to be ordering all the t-shirts and sunglasses, everything we're bringing to BlizzCon that you guys have helped us be able to finance. We're going to be doing that this weekend. So anything up to this weekend is going to be kind of locked in for that. If you're interested in getting any of those items, you just let us know. We can have a chat about that as well.
Oh, or last-minute PayPal donations also work.
Want to tell us about the PayPal donations?
Yeah, so you guys can do, I want to make sure I get this right address before I say this, but I believe it's dead simple. I'm just verifying it real quick. Yes. All right. So if you go to paypal.me/trollsgg, you can donate any money straight to us via PayPal, and that will also join the pool of money that we are bringing to buy BlizzCon goodies this weekend.
Yep, and I mean, there's also if you don't want to support us financially, there's a ton of other ways you can support the show too. Even just subscribing or following us on Twitch, or giving us a 5-star review on iTunes really helps as well. Or even just spreading the word, tweeting at us, following us on Twitter, following LiQuiuD or Mystic on Twitter too. I see. The funny thing is, I make fun of Mystic almost on a weekly basis for his Twitter account, and I think he's getting close to more followers than me. So I better watch what I say here. So, anyways, you can follow any of the three of us on Twitter as well. Everything's on our website or on the show notes as well. And I wanted to give a little shout out to our troll of the week this week. The troll of the week this week is Decro. He's our shot caller for my cheer league team. I figured I'd give him a little shout out. He does watch the show quite regularly. He's a big fan of Cavalier guests, and he's definitely in there asking questions whenever Cav's on the show. So Dec, thanks for being a friend of the show. Thanks for organizing our cheer league team and keeping the head on our shoulders throughout our games and everything too. It's much appreciated. So, that being said, let's get into the news, shall we? And there's
Someday,
Bumper.
this will make a great story.
I'm getting a little bit better at queuing those up. So, big news this week. LiQuiuD won last week's debate. 159 votes to 132. It's the most votes we've ever had. We had Cavalier Guest subbing in for Mystic last week, and he still couldn't take down LiQuiuD on the topic of whether or not Quick Match was healthy for the game.
You guys threw me off my game so hard, it's not even funny.
But not enough. That's the
Clearly
problem. You still ended up getting 159 votes. I mean, it was pretty close when it came down to, I think it was 54% of the vote, but still, like, you were up against Cavalier Guest. It's not exactly your average opponent in a debate as well. So we couldn't quite derail the LiQuiuD train that's been steamrolling through the debate. So now you are 5-1, sir. We're going to have to try and come up with some other way to dethrone you, I guess, next week. So Cavalier Guest is going to be having to wear a bow tie all this week as punishment for losing. Ironically enough, he pretty much always wears a bow tie anyways. We weren't expecting him to lose, so I was kind of hoping that LiQuiuD would be wearing a bow tie today because of that, but hey, what can you do? We'll have to try a little bit harder, I guess, on the next round of the debates. So we've got an in development video that dropped last week as well, and we had another video about Volskaya Industries, the new map. Did you guys get a chance to check out the video? I'm assuming you did.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
What do you think about what do you think, LiQuiuD?
There were a couple of skins I really liked. So whenever those videos come out, me and my wife actually watch them together. And there's skins she likes and there's skins I like. Like, she liked the pink Dahaka skin, which I was not a huge fan of. And then a couple days later, we were watching HGC and someone picked the blue Mecha Dahaka, and she goes, "That's the same skin, just pink, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I think she liked it a little less, but I love Diva the Destroyer. I have to have that. Like, day one, I have to have Diva the Destroyer. I don't even really play Diva that much, but I have to have the Diva Deathwing skin.
I like how at the end of the video too, they showed her doing the bunny hop, and it looks like, I didn't really realize that the mech itself almost looks like it's got little wings too. So when it does the bunny hop, it does like the little flapping of the wings too. I thought it was a nice little touch there on Blizzard's part. Of course, LiQuiuD was petitioning to make the name of this show Deathwing Enters the Nexus or something along those lines. I was like, I don't know about that. Like, that might be a little too misleading and clickbaity. How about you, Mystic? What did you like from the development video?
They were all cool. None of them really super stood out to me, but the map itself for Volskaya Industries looks very interesting, especially the mech part where you just destroy everything.
Is this going to be another Hanamura, or do you think this is going to be a better design map?
From my perspective, it looks like to be a little bit more well designed, because I think Blizzard learned from Hanamura. They're like, hey, if we're gonna use something that's very, very out there, then we might want to play test it a little bit more before we throw it out into competitive or ranked or what have you, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have a detailed discussion on Volskaya Industries as well a little bit later on in the show. But I personally really like the Commandant Varian skin too. I thought that was pretty cool with the bear on the shoulder. LiQuiuD's shaking his head. You don't like that skin?
I don't know what it is about that skin, but it just, no, me and that skin don't get along. And I can't decide how much of it is because I'm just not happy that we still don't have Reinhardt in the game, and instead we get Varian with a skin and Junkrat. Like, really, Junkrat? All right, Anna I can let slide, even though I don't quite agree with Anna, but Junkrat, come on, man. Yeah, Reinhardt.
That was the other thing that slipped out of the Volskaya Industries video, was that, Junkrat's coming to the Nexus too. I guess we should have mentioned that as well. I like how you get annoyed if it's not Reinhardt. We better, you know what's going to happen though? At BlizzCon, Reinhardt's a pretty big important character. What if you saw Reinhardt take on Alex Straza or something in a cinematic?
So the problem with that stage, first of all, that would be pretty cool, but because I'm going to be camping the eSports stage, I don't think I'll actually see the cinematic. So, yeah.
You're going to be sitting in the room by yourself. There's going to be the janitor sweeping the stage, and you're going to be like, this is my spot. I'm not leaving. Are you going to stay in the room with us at all, or are you just going to stay there all night too? Are you going to sleep in your spot?
No. You got to get out when they let you out. So
Okay. Well, I shouldn't complain because hopefully you'll have 2 seats saved for myself and Mystic, at the front of the bus too. Also, that came out of that in development video too was Illidan's Nightmare mount, which is kind of cool. It's nice to see new mounts come in as well, especially. Oh man, what's the worst feeling opening a loot box, getting like a legendary or an epic mount, and it's like you've got the brown horse. I'm like, what? How is that epic? This should be common or something, And like, there's so many legendary mounts I feel like are just trolly and such. But Illidan's Nightmare mount looks pretty cool. I think I wouldn't mind opening that one in a loot box.
Speaking of the Nightmare mount, I actually saw that there were some people that got it early because Blizzard made a mistake and they released it for like, I don't know, it was a very short time. However, if you got it, then I think you could use it in game right now, can't you?
Oh, cool. I have no idea. You'd assume that it's probably like the assets and everything are probably in the patch already. So maybe it's just, like you said, they put the wrong release date on like in the notes there or in the code, and it just launched a little bit earlier than they expected. That's kind of cool. I didn't know about that. So yeah, we had some PTR patch notes, as I mentioned before. We're going to go over these next week. So for any of those that were wondering if we're going to be talking about them this week, we're going to talk obviously about Ana, and we're going to be talking about Volskaya Industries. But some of the details on the PTR patch, we're going to be leaving till next week. The one thing I did want to bring up, though, is we're getting another random weird little event. And if you pop into the PTR now and you play a game, you'll have the Pacamari event. Do you guys even know if I'm pronouncing that right? Do you guys know what Pacamari are? I have no idea.
Let's go with that.
I was wondering if it was like some sort of like thing I'm just too old to know about. I can't believe I'm saying that. It's like the debated thing that you guys had to explain to me back like whatever it was 20 episodes ago. But anyways, what you do is you race the other team to open these loot boxes prior to the game starting around your core, and you're trying to find the golden Pacamari. It looks like a little tiny little Pokemon almost. If your team finds the golden Pacamari first, you'll get credit towards your quest to get Pacamari themed emojis, banners, sprays, and portraits. Now, that's why I assumed it was some sort of well-known thing. I'm sure people are probably going to say something about it in chat or something like that too, about what Pacamari are. You know what? I probably should have just Googled it beforehand. But either way, there's the Pacamari event coming, and that'll be launching along with Ana once the PTR patch goes live.
Well, from what Google tells me, it is basically a little thing of Overwatch's mascot, and I don't play Overwatch that often, so
Yeah.
So that's why.
That is what it appears to be, is an Overwatch thing.
So hopefully not too many Overwatch fanboys are like flaming us right now, but we can handle that. I apologize. Okay, so we've got the Overwatch mascot coming in for that event. Okay, so that is the end of our very light news segment for the week, which means it's time for LiQuid's eSports Corner.
Hey yo, how you doing? It's time for LiQuid's eSports Corner. That's right. And you're gonna want to stick around for this.
Take it away, LiQuid.
All right, so we get closer and closer to the journey. You know what? Closer and closer to the journey to BlizzCon sounds kind of weird, but I'm going with it anyway. So we have a number of teams that have already qualified. In Southeast Asia, we have Deadly Kittens already qualified. In Taiwan, Soul Torturers also qualified already. China, it looks like Super Perfect Team is right on the cusp of qualification. They may need to win one more or have somebody else lose one in order to make that happen. But over in Korea, we have MVP Black in for good. EU, we have Fnatic and Team Dignitas, and an NA with Roll20's wins this weekend. Both Roll20 and Team Freedom are going through to BlizzCon. It's quite the field. It's going to be a good show. I can't wait to see it.
Is this going to be exciting? We're finally talking about teams like locked in for BlizzCon now.
I'm trying to maintain not, oh my God, I can't wait to see this, because I know there's going to be some games the week before we get there where they eliminate some of these teams. So there's going to be teams that we don't get to see, which is kind of sad. But at the same time, I understand, how do you cram that many teams into a 2-day event? It's impossible.
You make the event a whole week, which I think everyone's been asking for a while. I mean, I guess
Yes.
It's kind of difficult to get people to come to a convention for a whole week, but if anyone's going to, it'll be Blizzard fans, that's for sure.
Right? Well, and you don't even have to make it, you can run the first part at their new eSports arena, right? And run it there for the first 4 days. And then say, okay, and then the grand, the semifinals and finals of the grand finals are going to happen at BlizzCon. So you start Monday and you go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the esports arena, and then Friday, Saturday is at BlizzCon, right? It's doable, but it's difficult.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of trade shows like do open a couple days before the actual event too, right? And kind of do like the pre-show stuff. I think CES is kind of like that too. Most of the news drops before even day one with all the events happening. So I mean, most people come to BlizzCon the Wednesday night or the Thursday night before the show too, so you could always make the Thursday an official day where you'd actually have some games, some events and things too, so people like LiQuid who want to sit there and sit in front of the esports stage the whole time can actually see things other than the esports stage and meet the janitor and become very well acquainted with the poor guy sweeping the stage after all the confetti drops. I expect you to be like best friends with that guy by the time the show's done.
You know what, there's nothing wrong with that. He's probably got the back way in to get me in a little earlier. I'm not complaining. But no, it's like everything's shaping up nicely. We have EU Open Division playoffs and NA Open Division playoffs both set. EU starts next Monday. NA starts the week after that. Those will be interesting. So Monday night, we actually got together with Tetcher on Troll and HGC, and we previewed the EU Open Division playoffs. We're going to play a clip from that tonight during Troll and HCC, and then next Monday we're moving Troll and HCC to Mondays for a couple of weeks because of scheduling conflicts. But next Monday we'll have Hero Physio on, and we're going to do the NA Open Division playoff preview. So it'll be a good time, and then we're gonna try to have both of them back on before Crucible, both EU and NA Crucible, to go over like Crucible predictions.
How much did you geek out having Tetcher on?
Dude, it was like insanely cool. Tetcher is a great guy, and we're only gonna play a clip tonight that's focused strictly on the EU Open Division stuff, but we're gonna also upload the entire thing to YouTube so everybody can watch it. He talked about how he got his start in casting and how all of that happened, and like it was a lot of fun hanging out with him, and like I definitely 10 out of 10 would do it again, like no questions asked. Like I told Bags after we got off, because it was late, he had to cover China the next morning, and it was like midnight at that point. Or midnight for him, and I was like, man, I could have sat there. We could talk to him for hours, but I wanted to let him go because obviously he had to get up and cast China with Kendrick Swish. So it was pretty cool though. It was a lot of fun.
Cool. I can't wait to catch a segment too.
Oh, and that's a good point. Ogre's right, and we actually had real Tetcher because he wasn't casting a game. So little tidbit: his internet is so bad that he can't actually observe a game and stream video at the same time. So because it was just him talking to us, we actually got full camera and everything with Tetcher. So a rarely seen live Tetcher appeared on our show, and we'll be playing the clip tonight.
Only on Troll and HGC.
Yeah.
That's right, man. So it was a good time. So it's
like Pokeroo, he actually exists.
Yes. And then so then just to come back around and wrap up my segment. 3 games that I think everybody's going to want to watch. This one goes out to Super Dave. Superstars versus Gale Force Esports. Superstars needs that win. Hopefully they'll get that. It should be a good game. And then and Gale Force is struggling. So watching them take on Superstars, that could be an interesting game. And then that one's at 5:00 Eastern. Wow, on Friday. I'm a mess, man. You got me all thinking about Tetcher and how much fun it was, and now I'm like thinking, damn, that was a lot of fun. I can't wait.
We've lost you for the rest of the show.
Right? No. I'm getting it back. And then Saturday, I picked out 2 games. You're gonna want to watch Zealots versus Team Good Guys. Zealots is actually kind of on the bubble, and depending on how they do and how Playing Ducks do, Zealots may actually end up in the Crucible, which is disappointing because they've done really, really well this phase, and I'd like to see them not have to do that. But at the same time, if you're following Open Division, we talked about this a little with Tetcher. Leftover's current avatar or logo is actually a picture of Mopsio. So if Zealots falls into the Crucible and Leftovers picks Zealots to be the team they face off against, Mopsio will be playing against a team whose logo is his face, which is just kind of interesting in and of its own, right? So 12:00 Eastern, that game starts, Zealots versus Team Good Guys. And then 2:00 Eastern, Fnatic versus Playing Ducks. I mean, look, Fnatic's on a tear. I fully expect them to win that game 3-0. But with that being said, there's always a chance that they're like, yo, we're just going to kind of lay back. We have a great record. We don't need, like, even if we lose, we still get first place. let's have a chill weekend, and if Playing Ducks beats us, they beat us, but we're gonna throw down all cheese comps, or we're gonna do whatever we can because we want to take back the fastest HGC ever game away from Roll20, who just got that this past weekend. They had a 5-minute and I can have the wrong show notes.
That is tough to do in AI on easy mode.
Right? What was it? It was 5.5 minutes on Warhead Junction.
That's
five
nuts.
and a half. It was like 5:26. It was crazy fast. So
I'll have to rewatch that one.
Yeah, it was a good game. But so pseudo busy weekend. I actually suggest everybody watch China next week, Monday, Tuesday, because that's gonna really set some teams where they are. And they're great games too. Like each region has its own meta, and it's kind of interesting to see. And then I go and I watch these amateur teams, and I can see where they like combine multiple regions meta into their own meta, which is kind of interesting. So
I got a question for you, LiQuid.
Sure.
I was talking to some people online about this earlier. This is specifically related to superstars. Shrey, he used to be a really big content creator in general for HOTS, and he's kind of dropped off a little bit. Do you think he's got like one foot in the door into retirement? Do you think he's going to be sticking around after the season?
So that's an interesting question. Dave and I talked a little bit about this because Super Dave is like a hands down superstars like fanatic. He loves that team, which props to him. He has
Gilly, we gave him a shout out, right?
Right? Yeah, no, absolutely. And he hasn't wavered from his support for that team, which is awesome, right? Like that's what I like to see, because you're supporting your team no matter what's going on. So kudos. But it was weird because like right when Phase 2 started, Shrey looked really like out of place. Like the team as a whole kind of looked off. And then there was the weekend he wasn't there, and they played with a sub. And I would have said, yeah, it kind of looks like he's checked out, but they actually seem to be pulling it back around the last couple of weeks and doing better and better. And that's part of the reason why I highlighted the game Friday. There's a very real chance that Superstars could beat Gale Force Esports, which if you had asked me 3 weeks ago, I'd been like, no way. Or even 4 weeks, like from the beginning of Phase 2, Part 2 until probably 2 weeks ago, I would have said, no way does Superstars, like the world doesn't exist where Gale Force loses to Superstars. But Superstars is trending up, and Gale Force is like really struggling in their games. So yeah, I could absolutely see that happening, and that's one of the reasons why I highlighted that game as a game to watch this weekend.
Well, I'm sure both Super Dave and Shrey are glad to hear your analysis there, and yeah, it will have to be one of the ones that I watch this weekend for sure. So is that the end of your segment, or do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, I mean, you know me, I could talk esports
I know.
all day, but...
Why did I say that? I should have said, okay, and that's Troll and HGC's little mini esports corner segment.
Do you really want to open that up?
Yeah. If you'd like to hear more about esports, LiQuiD and Bags will be talking about it in depth and in very much detail after the show, so about 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this channel, twitch.tv/trollsgg. Okay, so let's start talking about Anna. Anna? It's Anna, right? I'm not off base there. Well, we'll go with Anna. So Anna, first impressions. She, for those who don't know, she's one of the founding members of Overwatch. She was actually one of the more recent characters to come to the Overwatch universe too, which is pretty interesting as well. She's pitched as one of the world's best snipers, so move over Nova, watch out Widowmaker. Anna from Overwatch has entered the PTR as a high skill cap support hero. And if you don't play Overwatch, you don't know much about Anna, that's exactly what she does. She's a sniper, excuse me, but she snipes heals in this case, and buffs and such too. So that's the big part of her kit. There's a lot of skill shot healing involved here. So we'll go over her kit first, and then maybe we'll talk about what we think about Anna and where she fits into this kind of support infrastructure. So her trait is kind of an interesting one for a support, but it's called Shrike. It's where basic attacks apply a dose to non-structured enemies. So this doesn't affect any structures at all, dealing an additional 44 damage over 5 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. So it's kind of like a mini Lunara poison. Basic attacks are only 31 for her damage. So she's got really low basic attack damage. So most of her attack damage actually comes out through this poison effect. Her Q ability is called Healing Dart. This is her main heal. It's on a 2-second cooldown cooldown, and it's very much like Nova's Snipe, except a little bit easier to hit. I think it's a little bit quicker. You correct me if I'm wrong there, boys, but you fire a really fast dart, which heals the first allied hero hit for about 250 health. Just to put that in perspective, that's about 3/4 a Rhaegar first target heal, about 65% of an Uther Q, and slightly more than 2 ticks of a Brightwing.
All right, I have a question.
Yeah,
Sorry,
sure.
I'm not going to interrupt your flow, but I am going to interrupt your flow.
No, that's what this is about, right?
Thought Rhaegar's target heal just lowered though down to the 250
That's
mark.
on the PTR, I believe. I put in it was the same as that's what I put in the patch notes first. I was like the exact same as a Rhaegar heal. I was like that's perfect. Then I looked and I was like, oh crap! I think I took that because I was playing in the PTR and I checked the Rhaegar's heal from the PTR and then I noticed when I was going over the PTR patch notes that his got downgraded. Rhaegar, for those of you who don't know, in the PTR his healing has been adjusted, so his first target healing has been lowered, but his second and subsequent bounce heals are being raised, so it's gonna be a flat 250 to all of his targets. So he will have the exact same healing output untalented as Ana for all of his targets. So just a little bit of a comparator there. The one interesting thing though about her healing dart is it's a 2-second cooldown, which makes it really stressful because you're hitting, you're doing snipe shots every 2 seconds, trying to weave in auto attacks, a couple in between each of those can make it really difficult. But that being said, in terms of just raw output, comparing her to like an Uther or a Rhaegar, she can actually, if you're hitting that constantly on cooldown, get quite a bit of heals off there. But it's not a lot of burst healing because they are just kind of a lot of little mini heals. She also has Biotic Grenade, which is a really cool ability. It's on a 16-second cooldown. This is on her W. She tosses a grenade at a target area, very similar to a Morales grenade. Allied heroes hit are healed for 175 health and receive 25% increased healing for 3 seconds. So it's a little bit, just a mini heal, kind of like an Uther W almost. Enemies hit take 60 damage, so a very minimal amount of damage, like less than 1 auto attack from your regular heroes, but enough to interrupt any sort of channeled stuff, and receive 100% less healing for 2 seconds. And I think that is one of the most interesting parts of her kit.
Toss one of those into a mosh pit, profit.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it, right? Everybody's stunned in the pit. You throw one in, and then everybody blows them up, and yeah.
Toss one of those on an ancestral target. No healing.
Oh yeah.
There's so many. Like I was even thinking like Dahaka's adaptation too. Like it affects so many things. It's a little great. Like 2 seconds is a long time. 100% healing. That's not like a little bit of mitigated healing. That's like all of the healing.
All of it.
So it counters so many things.
Well, you basically have a kill every 16 seconds with her, right? If you can line it up, you have a kill.
Well, I mean, if assuming the rest of your team's following up on whoever you're targeting, it is kind of like the opposite of like Medivh's Protect, right? Like instead of shielding the damage, it stops the healing from coming out, and it's supposed to stop the damage. But like pure stop to it, it's like that protected against all healing sources, which is really cool. But it's 16-second cooldown, so you got to make sure you're using sparingly, and it's got the dual effect, so you got to make that decision in game. Do you use it for the damage? Probably not. Do you use it for preventing healing or for boosting your own team's healing too? On her E, we've got Sleep Dart, which is a 14-second cooldown. And I'm kind of glad that Biotic Grenade and Sleep Dart are on long cooldowns because you're just so busy with your Q. It can get a little hectic if you had short cooldowns on everything. For Sleep Dart, she fires a dart that's extremely slow, and that puts the first enemy it hits to sleep. So this is only for heroes, rendering them unable to act for 3 seconds. Sounds pretty OP, but the sleep effects end instantly if the target takes damage after the first half a second. And this cannot be used on vehicles. So that's kind of...
Go ahead.
No. I was just stalling for time until one of you guys chimed in, so that was perfect.
Yeah, I mean, like, the reality is you throw that on the healer in the back, you toss in your grenade into the group, and you just burst 2 or 3 people down. Yeah,
I mean, you can already see how she's becoming high skill cap, high coordinated type healer too, because if you throw a sleep dart on someone, you first off probably don't want to throw it on someone who's taking damage because you're changing this 3 second quote unquote stun into a half-second stun, which I mean isn't bad in its own right, but it's a long cooldown to waste on that. But yeah, you can throw it onto the healer or someone in the back line, and as long as you're not damaging them, they're out of the fight for 3 seconds, which is a pretty huge amount of time.
A really good synergy that I actually saw was Sleep Dart plus Chromie. Because if you Sleep Dart them, they're not moving for like the next 3 seconds as long as no one attacks them, right? And then Chromie gets like a free combo.
Yeah, the
That
wombo
hurts.
combo setup potential there is huge, right?
Right.
I was playing with a bot Nazebo, but he was actually really good at following up the sleep darts with a zombie wall. It's a lot easier to land those things.
Because the AI's improved in a lot of cases.
Yeah, and you know what? And we didn't, again, we're going to talk about the PTR patch in a bit, or not in a bit, next week. But a lot of heroes got that kind of AI rework on the PTR, and it's noticeable. I was playing Elite AI. I was playing it, that being said, I was playing it as Ana, so it's not like a very like impactful hero. You can't like secure a lot of kills. You can't like carry the AI team. But I lost both games, guys. It was a pretty sad state of affairs in AI, losing a couple AI matches, even to elites. But they felt a lot better. Like in some cases, there were some weird, quirky things where they were running into forts and such where I think they shouldn't have. But you can definitely tell the AI has changed and has improved somewhat too. Yeah,
and I like a couple of people I've talked to say Anna's biggest thing is she is a support, but she's a great second support.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with that. She especially even her biotic grenade too amplifies healing from all sources. I mean, you can amplify your own Q, so you can get a couple of Qs off with 25% extra healing. But I was pairing her with a Lucio and such, and it seemed to be working pretty well. There are some issues if you have two healers always, right? I mean, you gotta make sure you got damage from somewhere, but she does really work well with another healer.
Or like Uther or Rhaegar would both work well with her.
Mystic, do you see her kind of like I called her the anti-Medivh earlier, not because she counters Medivh, but just because she works in similar ways with her biotic grenade being like 100% healing reduction on enemies. Do you see her probably releasing with a really low win rate, but being really useful in those high skill cap environments?
I don't know about low win rate, because while healing dart, while it's a skill shot and you have to hit it, and it can be body blocked by your own allies and such, it's on a 2-second cooldown. So even if you miss it, it's still kind of forgiving, right? So you miss it, it just means you don't have a heal for the next 2 seconds, which means you can shoot it again. I mean, a lot of her stuff is skill shots, though, where I believe she will release for, kind of a lower win rate until people get used to those. And yeah, I guess like you said, she'll get higher and higher as people just get used to using them.
And the positioning is so crucial for her, too. I got a car in the background somewhere there. And the positioning is so important for her because, like you said, like her Q gets body blocked by her own allies. Right. So if you need to get that heal off to the tank in the front of like just a mess of melee characters, it's tough to necessarily get to the target you want, which can be really frustrating. And I found really frustrating in game as well. It's not none of this click heal or heals that go through people like Uther's W, where it is a little bit more forgiving. In this case, like you need to make sure you got your positioning proper and your angles are covered so you can heal the person you want to heal.
That's what the grenade's for, though.
But the grenade's not a lot of healing, though. Right?
It's only 75 different. It'll save them. It'll keep them from dying.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like what, like couple auto attacks. So whereas the healing dart you can keep pouring out, and you use your biotic grenade once, 16-second cooldown. That's longer than an Uther heal. So your healing dart's your primary source of heals, at least on talented and such as well. But talking about body blocking, we got a couple ultimates we haven't talked about yet too. Eye of Horus is an ultimate that can get body blocked unintentionally as well. It's a 60-second cooldown ultimate. You assume a sniping position, gaining the ability to fire up to 8 specialized rounds with unlimited range, which is so cool. The UI for this is amazing. Rounds hit the first allied or enemy hero or enemy structure in their path, so it can be blocked by a lot of different things. So you got to really make sure your angles are proper when you do this. Allies are healed for 300. And enemies are damaged for 175. So it's not a ton of damage or healing, but you get 8 rounds of this for free with unlimited range. It's pretty cool. There's no limit on the amount of time you can be in this position as well. And it deals 50% damage to structures. So you really don't want to use it for structures, obviously, unless you're like maybe sniping a fort or a keep from across the map. You're not able to move when this is active too, but you've got unlimited range, so it's pretty awesome. And once you take a shot too, it's kind of like a Tyrande, you can see you got vision around the direction that your shot hit. So if you're shooting someone that's outside of vision, you hit them or you get close to them, you can kind of track them and keep shooting them over and over again. And talk about a cool ability for interrupting objectives, because you get basically you can sit there, you got 8 shots, and as long as they're not getting body blocked, which I mean, I guess, you know, skilled players would probably do that.
Not, yeah. Like,
yeah, but people might not necessarily know where it's coming from.
Clicker.
Yeah, people might not necessarily know which direction it's coming from too, right? And if there's one person sitting there on the bottom tower of Towers of Doom, you can stall it for, you know, 8 iterations of whatever the channeling time is. So it's kind of a neat ability. But that being said, when I asked Mystic in chat the other day, what do you think of on it? He's like, Nano Boost and forget. So the other ultimate is Nano Boost. And this is like Medic Stim Drone for mages. Instantly boost an allied hero. It's on a 50-second cooldown, restoring 200 mana. By the way, the tooltip's broken in the PTR now. It restores 200 mana. It says 0 mana if you're going to the PTR. For the next 8 seconds, they gain 30% spell power. And their basic ability cooldowns recharge 150% faster. Cannot be used on Ana. Just like her heals, by the way, which is another downside of her too. She's got no self-heal. She can't shoot herself in the foot. I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing, but that's something she can't do. So
I mean, have you seen the size of her rifle? She really shouldn't be trying to shoot herself in the foot.
But at least something. Like, she should have like a little self-heal of some sort. And there's really nothing in her talent tree that lets her do that too, which makes having the dual support situation a lot more, you know, attractive, I guess, in this case. But Mystic, why did you say Nano Boost and forget? What's about Nano Boost that you like so much?
Okay, so as you said, that you'd probably want to run Ana in a double support, right? Which means, like, unlike Tyrande or, you know, Kerzim or something like that, that have their own sources of like really big damage, being, you know, their auto attacks or, you know, owls or whatever, most of her damage is going to come from Nano Boost. And it's, if you consider, like, if she Nano Boosts a target and then all their cooldowns are recharging super fast, you can kind of count that as Ana's damage because it's her Nano Boost, right? And that's where most of it is going to come from. I have Horus. While it's great for stalling and it's great for healing, like you said, it doesn't do that much damage. It's great for stalling objectives. So she's not actually going to do that much damage. And even like with a bunch of her damage talents, I don't think she does that much damage. So most of it is going to come from Nano Boost. And I think if you're going to pick it over like Tyrande or something, you're going to want to pick up Nano Boost most of the time, unless you have a strategy, right? But if you don't pick up Nano Boost, then, you know, you're kind of left with a support that's pretty good at healing, but, you know, the damage is just not there. And especially if you have another healer that doesn't have that much damage either, then you're going to want to pick up, you know, Nano Boost or some other damage.
So who do you think are the ideal Nano Boost targets if you had to pick a few?
Well, besides the Genji bug that's going on where he had a 0.3 second Dragon Blade swipe, let's see here. I think tanks like the new reworked Johanna would be really good because then she can pull in like every half second or something like that. It's not every half second, but that I saw Machine Gun Medivh, which I thought that was pretty funny because his Q, you know, it's up almost all the time if you hit it. And then, I mean, it works on healers as well if your team needs extra healing, right? Because you get that cooldown reduction. And then I saw some Moonfire Machine Gun Malfurion as well.
So is this the case? Is this the case where you want to put them on like mages or people with abilities that are on short cooldowns then, so they can spam them? Because I'm thinking, like, if you put it on a Jaina, I mean, it lasts 8 seconds, but it's like, okay, you're going to get an extra blizzard out or an extra rotation of her abilities. Is that not the optimal way to go, like with the long cooldown mages?
I mean, because of the way the Nano Boost works, it gives you 30% extra spell power along with the ability cooldown reduction. If it just gave the cooldown reduction, then yeah, probably a you know, short cooldown heroes. But because it also gives 30% extra spell power, it works on long cooldown heroes as well. Like, can you imagine if you nano boosted a KT and you fired that Pyroblast? Now it does 30% extra damage. Well, you know, you're chunking someone out no matter what, right?
One interesting thing too is the way that Pyroblast works, and I believe people were testing this. But I can't remember what it was for specifically, but once the actual bomb hits, is when it looks at what Kael'Thas's effects are, right, on himself in terms of damage reduction. So
that was because of Diva and defense matrix.
Oh, that's right. So you can almost like throw out the Pyroblast and just wait till it's about to hit and then throw out the Nano Boost, and then you know that you've got Kael'Thas hitting like that 30% extra on the Pyroblast, plus then he'll have an extra 8 seconds in the fight with an extra 30% spell power and everything else too. You don't have to do it necessarily before the Pyroblast goes out.
Schizophrenic in chat also said that Lunara with Nano Boost is insane.
Oh, I guess so. That's a lot of Q's and W's. Yeah. Can we talk about Ana's trade a little bit? Do you guys think it's as strange as I think it is? Like, why? I mean, there's a lot of ways she can talent into it and such, but just does it seem strange to you that she's got a poison mechanic as a support?
I feel like they kind of stretched it a little bit because they're like, all right, so we need to give Ana some damage. What can we do? Oh, I guess we could give her some poison. Oh, well, I mean, that fits thematically because, you know, she does a lot of, like, chemical stuff, so we're going to make it a poison, and it's going to put him to sleep or something with the right talents, so...
I guess maybe that's the case where they're trying to bring the kid over from Overwatch as true as possible.
Right.
I don't play her in Overwatch, so I don't know how the poison effect kind of carries over here. It just seems strange to me for a support to have that, where it doesn't somehow translate into healing or seem to make sense with the rest of her kit. I mean, I guess, like you said, maybe it's because she's dealing with chemicals and darts and stuff, and there's the poison effect there. But I just thought it was kind of an odd trait to have as a support.
Well, you know what would have been better? If they brought Reinhardt in instead.
That was
Come
5
on,
minutes
without
coming.
LiQuiuD talking about Reinhardt. I didn't see it coming at all. I should know better by now. So Ana's got a big power spike, at least that I saw, at level 16. I had problems getting a lot of consistent healing out of her until level 16, and with one of her level 1 talents that I took, which was a questing talent. The name is beyond me right now, but where if you hit enough sleeping darts, you can actually start hitting 2 heroes with your Q as opposed to just 1 for your heals. And then couple that with level 16, where you get 50% additional healing if she doesn't miss while she's firing her Q. It's very similar to like how Nova's stacking Q works. I can't remember what the talent's called for Nova, but if you take it's like Snipe Master or something like that, you hit 5 heroes in a row, it kind of gets stronger and stronger, right? The same thing works with this talent for Ana on level 16, and it can actually get a significant amount of burst healing out. You don't have to worry as much about body blocking if you took level 1 talent quest 2 to get so that it pierces the first hero hit. So I actually found her being a lot more effective after level 16, and seeing that that's where I found her spike to come in. Are you seeing something similar there, Mystic?
Let's see. Yeah, I feel like the 16 talents are, you know, obviously really huge because they are 16 talents. Let's see. I think Sharpshooter, the one that you were talking about, the one that stacks up to 50%, you know, obviously if you don't miss, is actually one of the highest healing increases to her kit. Besides the other level one, which is if you stack doses, I think that's the one, detachable box magazine. That one is also really big because if you complete the quest, it gives you 3 instant recharges of healing dart every 40 seconds, which basically means you get an ancestral every 40 seconds.
See,
and I think that's pretty
how's that one work? Is it because I didn't actually take that talent? Is it like an activatable that you like can all of a sudden just press like QQQ really fast, or like do one shot with like 3 times the power?
So I think how it worked for me, as far as I saw it, right, was I see someone getting bursted, fire off a Q, activate detachable magazine. It instantly gives you 3 charges, so you QQQ, right, and then after the 4th Q, I guess it cools down for the other 2 seconds that you get on the Q. So you essentially get like 4 Qs in a row, and it's basically an ancestral at that point, right? And since you're firing so fast, as long as someone doesn't get in the way within that, since the skill shot is almost instant to cast within that, I don't know, like 0.25 seconds, then they're getting that ancestral.
Yeah, and I found it's fairly easy to hit the Q. Like you said, it feels like almost like an instant cast. So it's not where you don't have to like lead your target like an Uther W or just kind of like wait for people to line up. You can just like hover the person and press the Q as long as we're within range. I feel like it hits almost every time. I wasn't having too much of an issue maintaining those stacks for that level 16 talent there to make sure the healing output was huge. I got to try that level 1 that you're talking about there too. I just had such a problem passing up on the other level 1 talent, the questing one for the sleeping dart, so you can get the piercing on the Q, just because I found body blocking so incredibly annoying with the Q. So LiQuiud, where do we see Ana coming into like competitive play? Do you think she's going to find a spot?
100%. Yeah. Oh yeah. They're going to tear it up with her. Yeah.
I feel like that just the sleeping dart and the grenade, the biotic grenade that she has that reduces the healing. If you can time those right, oh man. Just bye ancestral, like you lose the whole thing. It's not like 30% reduced healing, it's just like no healing at all. So
right,
I can see pros just going crazy with that kind of thing and getting a lot of value out of that. Do you see her as being like a good counter pick? Is that, or would you pick her early?
I would probably,
because she seems to have a lot of
struggle right now,
counter stuff, right?
Right, no, she does, and if you the problem is if you pick her too early, like, is there really a way to play around her? Because she
just gets dove.
Right. But, like, even if she's getting dove, like, does that matter? Like, any healer so many people get dove so hard anyway, and you're typically going to use her in a double support comp. And, like, the weird thing is lately we're seeing a lot of double support, double tank with hyper carries, right? Well, she enables a hyper carry even more because between her stuns and between her 2 seconds of 100% less healing, like her hyper carry is even more powerful and even more sure to get a kill now. So, and if she has 2 tanks in front of her, plus she has, a second support, and that, like, it's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting. Like the simple fact that she can completely diminish a palm or an ancestral or like just any huge heal, like,
that's a good point. How does it work with palm? Because once someone dies, they get an instant heal. Does that mean they just die if you land that properly?
Well, no, because they still go into stasis no matter what.
But do they just die when the stasis is done? It'd be an interesting interaction if you hit it. Because the stasis is in 2 seconds. So if you hit it just before the stasis goes off, does that mean that once the stasis is done, instead of going up to whatever the percentage heal it is, you just stays at 0?
I think how it will work is, you know how when you're palmed, you get into stasis, right? But you can still see your health bar, right? It's at like 1 hit point. So I think if it lands right before the palm goes off, then it will attempt to do the heal, and it'll just block all that healing. So you'll come back up, you just have 1 hit point.
Well, and the real question is that how it's supposed to work? Because typically stasis removes effects when you go into stasis. So
it's a good point too. So it might completely just kind of cleanse off whatever the effect is too. So
but like it eliminates that stuff, right? So she absolutely has a place, and it can probably even be a high place in the draft. Because you can dive her, but you can dive. It's just as easy for you to dive Morales, and people are still picking Morales in competitive.
She's definitely got some weaknesses, though. Her wave clear is atrocious.
Yeah, but there was somebody posted something recently which made me chuckle. Again, if your support is doing your split pushing for you or your wave clearing, like, something's not right. So
still, it's nice to have wave clear, and it's nice to have self healing. So that's almost why you almost have to have at least some sort of off support with her to help heal her up if she is taking damage, or you've got to play super safe.
Right.
Her sleep dart can be used as a good peel or self peel, anyways, as well, as long as you can hit it. If someone's following you, whoever it happens to be, you put them to sleep. As long as you don't follow that up with any sort of auto attacks, you got 3 seconds of running away time, right? That's good enough to mount up and get out of there.
Right.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how she'll filter in here. I'm sure we're going to go over her in depth next week. LiQuiud.
Schizophrenic had a good point that she could be a very good first pick because it'll stop other hyper carry comps, but enable them for your team, which I kind of see, right? Because part of the point to the hyper carry is you can protect the hyper carry, and with all of her control, Like, how do you protect that hyper carry?
Well, another thing too is, let's say like you're like, should we ban Rhaegar here? It's like, well, we can just take Ana. It's the same thing as banning Rhaegar.
Right, right. That's a good point, right? So you're enabling yourself to, like, disable the other character anyway. So yeah, it's like drafting. All right, so a couple of things. One, drafting is going to change when she enters the Nexus, 100%. Two, we're at the point where we need to come up with a third ban. I think that's something we'll see at or right after BlizzCon. Like, whether it's announced at BlizzCon or right after, like, we're there. It's going to happen.
I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Dunk Train talking on Into the Nexus about the fact that a third ban could really stifle, like, you know, you could really get choked out on support. Or maybe it might have actually been Udall on Lords of the Storm. I think he was talking about the third ban like choking out supports, like, because then all of a sudden you could ban 6 supporters, and that could be an issue, right? So that's where the third ban may be a problem.
So if you got Ana, right, and then you get Alex Straza as a support, now all of a sudden it's less of a problem.
I guess that's true, and there are options, and you know what? Like, there are enough heroes that even if you did get 6, I mean, like, what are the chances you're gonna have 6 supports banned? If there's 4 support, I don't know how they're gonna do 3 bans aside, but if they do 2 bans off the top, like if 4 supports get banned and you don't take a support before the mid ban,
well, then shame on you.
Yeah, exactly. Right? You're probably doing something wrong, right?
Right.
Okay, so we also had Volskaya Industries drop as the new map. And so just a little bit of an overview of what it is. It's a cool Russian-themed Overwatch style map with a King of the Hill style objective. So that's where you've got to like stand in an area uncontested for a certain period of time. And once it hits 100%, you will get this cool piloted monster called a Triglav Protector, which is nuts. It's a 2-person monster where the first person who goes in actually pilots the thing. The second person is like the turret on the top. They both have their unique set of abilities, and this thing hits like a truck. It's really cool, and I think it's a really powerful objective. I wish, the problem is, like I said, I went into AI. I played a couple times on this map, but we got the objective a few times. The problem is the AI are so fast at channeling it, I couldn't get into either seat to actually try it out. But I mean, it looks cool, and you can check out a lot of it in the in development video, or whatever it's called, the Assault on Volskaya Industries video that they did. It goes over a little bit of it there, but it's really cool. There's also some new map mechanics too that you don't see on other maps, like moving terrain. So there's conveyor belts throughout the map around some objectives as well, which are moving in certain directions. And if you're trying to move like a conveyor belt, anyone who's was a 3-year-old kid at one point knows if you try and run against a conveyor belt, you're going to go a little bit slower. If you run with it, you go a lot faster. So it gives you like engage or disengage points too that you can kind of take advantage of. The AI still have to figure it out a little bit too. I saw a few of them running up the treadmill not unsuccessfully, but it's cool. It adds a little bit more to like the terrain on the maps too. So Volskaya seems like a fairly like wide open space map too. Like the thing I think that they did to change that or to like hinder the movement was these conveyor belts. So other than that, there is also the mercenary camps are very similar to Hanamura. There are mercenary camps that give you items instead of pushing down lanes, which I don't know if I necessarily agree with. I kind of like the pushing ones, but but these objectives can be very useful too. You get the healing items as well as the turret items that you can get from defeating the mercenaries. Okay, so what are your guys' first thoughts on this map? I mean, it seems like it's not like a crazy kind of map like the last couple new ones we got with Towers of Doom and Hanamura, in that it feels more like an Infernal Shrines. You like control the point, control a certain area for the objective. What do you guys think about it?
My first thought was, if I played Vikings, I wonder if I could control both in the mech. Other than that, it was, I mean, honestly, the map looks very fun. What I heard, though, was that because the objective is so strong, that it actually spawns a little bit less. Like, it takes longer to spawn, so it doesn't end the game too quickly. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. And I thought the conveyor belt idea was really good. It it means that in the future there could be other maps that also feature, you know, different stuff that happens around the map. Like, let's just say you have a map, there's like a wall that occasionally opens up, you know, sometimes, and then at other times it's closed or something. So that could open up for other possibilities that Blizzard can implement in other maps.
It makes map position and awareness important as well, because now there are areas where like you can get away a lot faster, or you can engage a lot faster too, right? So there's some areas that are a little bit more dangerous or a little safer than they might appear on a map where the ground doesn't move under your feet. So I think there's going to be a little bit more of a learning curve to getting used to that, and getting used to, like, you know, where you are safe in the game and where the kind of those new gank potential areas are, because now they might be right in the open as opposed to, you know, right next to a bush. So there might be the conveyor belt gank as opposed to the gank bush. But that objective, that piloted mech seems so strong, and it's hard to remember sometimes that there are 2 heroes in it, so it does hit a lot harder than you expect. So trying to bleed through that health bar can be tough, especially as a melee hero.
So the one thing that I'm not sure of, and all right, I have not actually gotten into a game, so it's all been video and what I've read other people say. But if Cho'Gall goes in, is that a third person?
So I heard TBK Zord speculating about this, and I didn't get a chance to test it, but it sounds like what he's heard is that when you enter it as Cho'Gall, it's the same thing as entering like a Dragon Knight, right? So Cho is the one who gets to be the pilot or the turret, depending if he's the first or second person going in, and then Gall it can cast his abilities as per usual, centered around wherever the mech is. So you could have like dual turret mech. I mean, this is unconfirmed, but this is what he heard, and I believe it was from an official Blizzard source as well. So you could have Cho'Gall go in as either the pilot or the turret. You have Gall as a secondary turret, and you'd have, you know, whoever the third hero is there also being inside of the mech. So you could potentially have 3 heroes.
Like, think about the push potential.
I know.
Right? Because now you have two turrets protected by the mech itself. And then even when you take them out, okay.
Out pops Cho'Gall.
Right. With something else. Which Schizophrenic beat me to this, but Cho'Gall Oriole in the mech. So now Cho'Gall keeps you from diving the Oriole and just keeps pushing because he's got Oriole. So
yeah, it seems very strong, and it's not the kind of thing where you can like bait it to jump over the wall, right? It's piloted, so you've got a person making like proper decisions. They've got each a set of like unique abilities, which we didn't talk about too. I guess we can talk about the abilities. So like the pilot has a Q, W, and E. The Q is a charge after half a second. Charge the target unit's current location and deal damage in an area. Deals double damage to structures and minions on an 8-second cooldown. He's got Rocket Fist on his W. Launch a Rocket Fist that impacts the first hero or structure hit, roots heroes for 1 second, disables structures for 2 seconds, destroys all minions in its path. Kind of a neat little note mechanic there. It's only 14-second it's on a 14-second cooldown. And then also we got a little support bit here to a shield emitter on an E. Grants 25 armor to vehicle and grants a shield to all nearby allies equal to 25% of their maximum health. So I mean, maybe you don't want Cho'Gall on there, right? Because then you get a huge shield for him for a little bit of time there. That's on a 16-second cooldown too. And that's just the pilot, because then the gunner gets a full set of abilities too, doing a ton of damage. The Q is called Particle Cannon. Enables the Particle Cannon ability and increases its range over 3 seconds. Reactivate to launch an orb, dealing damage in an area on a 5-second cooldown. So I think this is like you press Q, it charges up, then you press Q again to like launch it somewhere. W's Gatling Cannon fires a barrage of cannon fire at your location of your cursor for 4 seconds. And this is 11-second cooldown. And Scorching Laser on E, and you can see this in the video, it just does like a line on the ground that explodes shortly afterwards. So it's a laser that quickly cuts a line across the terrain, dealing light damage. A secondary explosion triggers 0.75 seconds later for heavy damage. I think Genji's got a talent that is very similar to this too, right?
Yeah,
where
his dash one
does the secondary damage afterwards. That's on a 10-second cooldown. So you're doing a ton of damage from both pilots, so the pilot and the turret here, and it's insane to have to deal with it too.
So I only want to say you definitely still would want Cho'Gall in, because even though you could give him 25 armor, I mean, it's 100% shield if you're in the mech. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see once we get some more games on Volskaya. Maybe we'll get some gameplay analysis and just try and figure out exactly what the good strategies are for this. I'll have to tune into Cavalier Guest's feeds and see what his takes are on the map. He usually has some pretty good, off the cuff analysis right off the hop and can break it down a lot better than most people. So we'll have to see what he has to say on the topic. So LiQuiud, you ready to talk about some Leoric? It only took us like 4 weeks. He's like,
I am.
He's even had like a little change since we got this rework too. But anyways, you talk about Leoric for a bit.
Okay, so Leoric actually, I love the new changes to Leoric, and I say new, and it's like 2 patches ago. Solid all around. I know Cavalier Guest is like, well, it's the same exact time to clear a lane and all of that, but I'm going to go ahead and jump into the fact that everybody outside of NA seems to love Leoric. Love Leoric. NA only picked him a handful of times over the last week since that patch dropped. I think it's been a little more than a week. But when you get outside, EU's picking him up. China really loves new Leoric. And Korea plays him quite a bit too. So I feel like they're almost seeing things that we're not. And if you watched EU HCC this weekend, there was a lot of, oh my God, look at all the damage reduction from his Wraithwalk stuff, right? Like a lot of that. Like that's all they could talk about this weekend. So I guess my point that I was trying to make was that he can still solo lane the way that he could solo lane before. But he's much better in team fights now. Much better in team fights, especially post 16. Once you have both of the talents of post 16, both of the Wraithwalk talents, so Ominous Wraith and Royal Focus, like forget it. Like you can constantly walk through people, and you're constantly reducing their damage.
So I've got a little surprise for LiQuiud, and we didn't tell him about this too.
Oh, God,
I've actually got Cavalier Guest on the line to talk about Leoric. No, just kidding.
I can't handle it, man.
Keep going, LiQuiud. So what do you think? Yeah, okay. I'll let you take it away. Keep going.
So there are a number of talents are actually what's the word I wanted to say? Number of talents are viable here. I did link to what I like to use as kind of my go-to. There's some levels where maybe you don't take the same thing. I will say Cavalier Guest did convince me to go away from I can't remember what it was called at 20. Spectral Leech and stick with Death March. Especially, I mean, obviously if you're going March of the Black King, Death March is nice. If you don't go March to the Black King, then Spectral Leech works just as well. But yeah, I linked to the build that I prefer to in our show notes, so you guys can check it out. I like that one. That's very, very similar to what a lot of the HCC players were running as well. But it's really nice to be able to just like walk through teams and like affect the team fight that way. So also Dignitas coach Nabi Jam is saying in chat right now some teams are still iffy with him in EU. I actually tend to agree with that. If you watch the Chinese teams were like really solid on Leoric, and part of that's probably because they have a couple extra days to practice with him before they have to play, because they play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, as opposed to Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But the Korean teams also looked really good with Leoric. I guess like if my only point was that EU was picking him more than NA, so I feel like we're lagging behind again in our decisions on what we should be picking at what times. And there were definitely some teams that could not make Leoric work. But we're like, hey, we just got beat with Leoric. Let's take Leoric now. We have a Leoric player, and then they could not make it work the same way. In all 4 regions, that was the case. So
people are still trying to figure out Leoric, I guess, figure out the nuances.
Definitely. And he plays a little different, right? So it's not like there's not something to try and figure out. It's just like you could tell there were people that understood how to play new Leoric, and then there were people that were like, we just got beat by Leoric, and you like Leoric, we're taking Leoric this game.
Yeah, I mean, this happens a lot with reworked heroes. Like even, I mean, not that you're seeing a ton of Morales necessarily in competitive play, but playing as Morales since her rework, it's a lot different than playing as Morales prior. And there's adjustment period playing with and as her, so everyone understands what you should be doing with or against a Morales.
I think we actually got a Morales uptick in picks this past weekend too because of the rework. I cannot spell Lieutenant Morales to save my life.
So while LiQuiuD looks that up, maybe I'll start the next portion. We're going to talk about the balance patch because there was a balance patch. Several heroes got touched. Nothing huge or major reworks, but there were a lot of heroes that got 2 or 3 talents changed or some buffs or nerfs here. So let's go over them all and just kind of like go over them in like a Blitz style format. So Cassia, she got a buff. And you know what's funny? Like we play her a lot in Chair League, and I know our Cassia player Black Magic is loving this because he's like, I liked her before, and he went her Q build, and that's the one that got buffed here too. Well, obviously some of the rest of her got buffed as well, but her basic attack damage increased by 4%. Bonus damage to blind targets increased from 15 to 20%. And her level 1 talents, her questing Q talent Thunderstroke, gets 33% more damage bonus for first reward tier for her Q questing talent ability. Seraph's Hymn, that's where reduced mana cost of Blinding Light and cooldown of ability when basic attacking heroes has been moved to level 1, and True Sight was removed. So did you guys think Cassia needed a buff here?
No, but I dig it. So Cassia is my secret pleasure. Like when I haven't done it this season yet because I've only played 2 Hero League games this season. When I play Hero League and someone else is like, I'm going to play the Warrior, I'm like, that's cool. I usually grab Cassia or Vala because I'm like, I can do a decent job carrying on either of them. I know them well enough that I don't have to like think. I can just play and ping all over the board. I have not played her buff yet because obviously the patch just dropped, but I'm looking forward to playing with it and seeing how it goes.
Because looking at this, they put compounding attack damage here. Like you look at basic attack damage increased by 4%, and then bonus damage to blind targets is increased an extra 5% as well. That's an extra like 4%, but then 5% on top of that. That's a significant amount of damage to the blinded targets, and that's a lot of burst you can do there.
So the other thing that I would point out, because again, Navi J, I'm getting it right in chat. By moving Seraph's Hymn to level 1, you now make it so that the standard charge strikes isn't like you can't have both, right? So it's one or the other. You have to make a decision at level 1 now, which I'm not sure how much I like that. I loved having charge strikes, but Seraph's Hymn is nice. It just, you know where it really works is Cassia with New Joe is going to be crazy good.
Mm-hmm. Can't wait to see some of those combinations. So Chromie got a little buff too, and this is something that means that maybe I can actually start playing Chromie again, mostly because her Sandblast Bacon quest that she has, where she had to hit 80 heroes with Sandblast, is now only 60 heroes to get her little Sand Echo. Blizzard was saying in the notes there that only 40% of Chromies, and I was definitely in the other 60%, were achieving this, and it was later in game than anticipated. So they figured, let's reduce it, make sure it happens a little bit earlier in game, because the whole point of this was so that you get that level 13, level 16 kind of spike whenever you get this talent quest completed, but people weren't getting it as much as people thought. And then also Timely Surprise, which I like as a talent too, and I don't play a ton of Chromie, but I just like that as a talent, is level 2 talent. Remember, Chromie gets her abilities 2 levels early. That resets cooldowns when a trap is activated, and that also increases the range now of traps by 33%. Not that you really necessarily need that, but still, nice little buff to Timely Surprise too. But buffs, I think it's pretty easy to say that's just a straight up buff to Chromie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think, what do you think about Chromie in general there, Mystic? Do you think she's in a pretty good place, pretty strong? I've seen some good Chromies. I've seen some bad Chromies over the past few weeks.
As far as these buffs go, I think she needed them. Not that, I would have liked Chromie to have them, because obviously I don't like getting one-shot by Chromies, but yeah, I think they were definitely needed, because the 80 it takes a really long time to get that done.
Yeah, and the fact that she's got, well, I can't remember if it's level 13 or level 16 talent that you can take that relies on you completing that quest. It felt like it was a wasted talent pick if you knew you were going to hit that 80, but now it's a little bit more of a rewarding talent tier to take that because now you know you can switch places with your Echo once you get it. So Kel'Thuzad got some nerfs. Thank God. Because KT... when we were playing in Team League, we were always like, let's just ban him. We don't even know if the other team plays KT, but good KT players can wreck you, especially like I think Mystic said, I'll just do what KT does after 10, just kill people. It's like, oh, great. So that's kind of player. We didn't want to come up against a Mystic on a KT in any of our Team League games, but they've definitely given him some nerfs. So they've increased the mana cost to Frost Nova and Chains of Kel'Thuzad and Shadow Fissure. The cooldown of Frost Blast, because no one was really taking it that often, was decreased from 100 to 80. I think that had to be done. And the cooldown of Shadow Fissure, more importantly, had to be done, increased from 15 to 20 seconds, and the damage was reduced by 10%. Phylactery now needs 12 globes instead of 10 to charge. Glacial Spike is no longer part of that damagey combo in terms of the damage because its damage was seriously reduced from 220 to 60, and the spike now spawns after a delay of 1 second instead of half a second, making it a little bit hard to do the setup there. Chains of Ice, which made the combo easier to hit at level 13, which is where if after chaining heroes you got a slow duration for a 1.25 seconds of 70%, it's now 1 second of 60%, so it's not nearly as crippling. And then finally, Hungering Cold. This is, I know Dunk Train said this is where Kel'Thuzad had a big power spike because Hungering Cold gave additional damage when damaged by Kel'Thuzad while rooted. So if you rooted him and you put your Q on the guy, you could get a lot of damage out because that thing ticks a lot. Anyways, now the bonus damage for that talent tier has been reduced by 8%. So I'm assuming that we all agree that Kel'Thuzad needed these. Maybe we'll have a little bit more mana management issues too now that he's had some mana increases. Do you think that we should have done a little bit more to this guy, Mystic? You're the big Kel'Thuzad player.
Like you said, I think the cooldown on the Frost Blast was needed because honestly, nobody was really taking it. It is a 100-second cooldown, and the Shadow Fissure was so much more appealing. Yeah, a lot of the nerfs were needed, I'd like to say. Spike was too strong of a, just a burst. I personally would have changed it to 0.75 seconds instead of 1 second, because 1 second is kind of long for the spike to come out, but that's just me. Everything else was warranted, and I'd also like to say, now that he's received all these nerfs on the PTR, he now doesn't one-shot anybody like Leeming and below.
What about his level 20 upgrade to his Shadow Fissure? I mean, that was a bit of an issue where people are saying, okay, like the instant reset on that was pretty crippling, especially when you had, a mosh pit or you're fighting over a boss or any sort of like situation like that where you just keep using it over and over and over again and just spamming your ultimate. Do you think that needed to be touched somewhat? Because it didn't get touched. Now it's actually arguably more powerful because it offers a higher cooldown on his ultimate.
I mean, if you think about it, right, it gives you more value because, it's like, okay, they increase the cooldown and the reset gets more value. However, I feel like it's okay because they reduce the damage of the entirety of Shadow Fissure by 10%. And, even if the enemy team is stunned in like a mosh pit, you're going to get like 2 off, right? Because even though it resets, it's not like cast, hit, reset, cast, hit, reset, cast, hit, reset. No, it's a cast 1.5 seconds, go, and then it comes up, and then the cooldown's reset, and then you cast it again. Like, even if you cast it immediately, it's another 1.5 seconds. So if your team can CC someone that long, I feel like it is warranted, especially as a level 20 talent, that, you do get those resets, and if they continue getting hit, then,
Well put. Now, if you were debating LiQuiuD on that topic, I think you would have won right there.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, probably, maybe. There's a possibility. But like Schizophrenic said in chat, if you're getting hit by something with a 1.5 second wind up more than twice, something else is probably the problem.
This is true.
It's more than enough time to dodge it.
Right?
So Mystic, next time LiQuiuD does the debate, we're gonna have to DDoS him because I have a feeling I want to see the IP addresses for all these votes because I have a funny feeling this is the botnet of LiQuiuD coming to play.
That's actually that's like a huge pain because of the way straw poll works. So no, I was just as surprised as you were that I won. But second, we should talk later, but it might make sense to go back to Twitter voting for a different reason. But
well, we'll discuss that after the show and see if that makes more sense for us to do that. Okay, so Butcher got some buffs. I'm always scared to say that, but he, especially because like whenever you increase attack damage on someone who heals off their attack damage, like Kerrigan or Illidan, you gotta be really careful. And Butcher got basic attack damage increase of 4%, and health and regen scaling per level has been increased from 4% to 4.5%. So he's becoming later game hero, I guess. Then like that's a significant scaling change.
I can totally see Blizzard just like, hey guys, I think we need a buff Butcher. Why? Because we're releasing Ana that reduces healing by 100%.
That's true.
I'm gonna become a Butcher one trick now.
I'll become an Ana one trick and just disable your Butcher one trick. But I didn't think about that synergy too there, or I guess counter synergy, whatever you want to call it. Taking the Ana to counter Butcher heals, because he has like I'm not sure how long his brand lasts was, like 4 seconds or so. But if you reduce 0 healing for the first couple of seconds of that, it's going to be a dead Butcher in most cases. And then Thrall got some buffs too. Health and regen increased by about 5%. I've been seeing a little bit more Thrall come into the game prior to this. Is this going to make him back in the meta again? I miss Thrall. I used to love playing my Thrall too. He used to be my main melee assassin I used to bring into the Nexus all the time.
I think that these Thrall buffs maybe were needed if they wanted to bring him back into like more professional play, but as like everything else, I feel like he was fine.
Yeah, it's always interesting to look at these, like taking a step back and be like, do they really need that? And some cases, you might say no, but Blizzard's got data in their background that says otherwise as well. So I'm sure there's a good reason they're doing these buffs. And the same with Cassia too, which is the other head scratcher that I had personally. But again, nothing wrong with that. Shake up the meta a little bit, maybe bring Thrall back into it, because Lucio was a few patches ago got a little bit of a health buff, and suddenly he jumped up in win rate. I was not expecting that from that little health increase, but this is significant for Thrall, I think. Here too, 5% is not something to shake a stick at. Brightwing, this is one that I'm really excited about. After the show tonight, I'm playing Brightwing no matter what. I don't care. I'll go in a quick match if I have to, because one build that I used to always love on Brightwing, I don't know what streamer was the one that kind of like initially showed me that it was a good build, was the Q damage build. What you usually take is you take the cooldown reduction and the range increase on the first couple talent tiers, and then you take whatever it is on 7. I'm horrible with talent names. Haven't been able to tell throughout the course of the show today. Where whenever you use abilities, it reduces the cooldown of your Soothing Mist. So you basically just throwing out Qs, getting cooldown reductions on that, getting cooldown reductions on your heal. You get huge damage and huge heals coming out of it, and it felt amazing. The only problem is you had to get that cleanse, because level 7 talent was kind of key to that. But now we're baking in 2 talents into a level 1 Q talent here. So Dream Shot now increases the range of her Q by 50%, and hitting an enemy hero in the center reduces the cooldown of her Q to 1 second. So this is basically the one, like I said, level 1 and level 4 talents combined and buffed, because you get the cooldown reduction of 1 second down to 1 second instead of whatever it used to be 3 seconds per enemy hero hit. So you can spam those Qs as long as you're being consistent with them, and having that range makes it a lot easier to hit. So she also got an increase to her healing aura range from 6 to 7, which might not sound like a ton, but if you remember from math, pi r squared, you increase the radius from 6 to 7, that increases the area, in a squared relationship. So you're actually getting a 36% higher amount of area increase on her heals. Blink heal cooldown was reduced from 10 to 9 seconds. Hypershift at level 1 reduces her Z cooldown by 3 seconds per hero healed instead of 2. I think they used to have it like that too a long time ago. And they removed Unfurling Spray from level 1, but you know what? You probably don't need it because they've already increased the range of Soothing Mist baseline now. Level 4 Peekaboo got a little bit of a change. When you Zed onto a target, the reveal area radius is reduced from 20 to 15, so that's significant. But you also get the added that the target you shift to gets pixie dust. It's kind of cool, a little bit of extra survivability there. And level 7, Phase Shield gives a shield to both her and her target, which is great because usually when you're using that, you're going into danger. So it's nice to have a little extra health for yourself as well there. So are you guys as excited as I am for Brightwing?
I think Brightwing is honestly a lot stronger now. And looking at these changes, I'm like, wait, if you just went back a while, and if you try to put these changes in then, people would be like, oh man, Brightwing is absolutely ridiculous. Right. But it just shows how far the game has come in terms of power creep, where, hey, we can just take a bunch of these talents and just put them into our base kit and it is still okay.
Because to me, I'm looking here, I'm like, I can go my damage build and I can afford to take cleanse on 7, or you can take, the mystified healing or whatever it's called on 7 that I was talking about before. Like I feel like there's so many more options because a lot of things, like even unfurling spray baked into her base kit now too, just adds so much. And if you're talking about, funny, like Blizzard wants to get rid of double support, but you toss this Brightwing in here. This is a damagey healer. Granted, she doesn't have a ton of burst healing, but Blink Heal's cooldown just got reduced. But you pair her now with another healer, you're not losing out on as much damage as you may have been losing out on before by going double healer.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I like it. I'm excited. I am officially back to being a Brightwing support main. I'm calling it here. I hope our chair league opponents for the week aren't watching this because they'll know to ban Brightwing right away. Morales got some buffs too. So 5% increased her base health and regen. And the Q recharge holdover period, so that's the amount of time that you had to keep your Q off of anybody to start recharging your energy, has been reduced from 3 to 2 seconds. And level 1, Caduceus Feedback, this is the talent that gave 4 energy for AAing heroes and 1 for non-heroes, also increases your attack range by 1.1. Just so people know, that's not 10%, that's an additional 1.1. So taking your attack range from 5.5 to 6.6, that's actually further distance than Raynor. So you can sit there and you can shoot Raynor and he can't shoot you back. I guess you're treading a fine line there because it's not very much difference in attack range. But this is pretty important, I think, for being able to safely shoot other heroes and get that energy back. Yeah. And just to note, they did take away that this now only does give energy from hitting heroes. Nothing else now, just heroes. So you have to be attacking heroes. But now you can do that, keep your energy up for quite a bit longer. Now, you said Morales was creeping up in the pick rate a little bit. I'm not sure if you ended up finding those numbers there, LiQuid, but this might do it a little bit more.
I expect this to move it up even more. It's definitely moved up. This will increase it even higher.
Yeah, because, that's one of the big downsides of Morales was that once she was out of energy, it was just so hard to get it back. And they seem to have addressed 2 of those concerns potentially here in the fact that you can get that energy coming back a second sooner if you're switching your targets, and also get the Caduceus Feedback might be a more viable pick talent at 1 because now you can actually safely auto attack heroes to get that energy recharged. So Stukov got an itsy bitsy tiny buff. Well, actually, maybe not itsy bitsy, but a buff nevertheless. Spine Launcher. That's where he went from melee to range slow attacks at level 1. Now only reduces the auto attack damage, if you choose this, by 30% instead of 50%. So you can still do a significant amount of damage while putting slows on everybody. Is this going to be something to take instead of the other talents that have been fairly popular here? I've always taken the increasing the lurking arm like radius at 1, but maybe I should start thinking about taking Spine Launcher. What do you think, Mystic?
I think it is definitely in contention with the other ones now because since it only reduces the auto attack damage by 30% instead of 50%, it means that Stukov can keep some of that power, right? And then so it allows him to provide at least a little bit of peel for people that are charging the backline that are melee. Then he can auto attack them and slow them down and just keep them slowed at like 20%.
Yeah, that's a significant amount of slow CC in his kit too.
Yeah.
If you've got that and his pustules or whatever they're called that you can throw around on the enemy team, slowing them as well, like you can control a nice area if you're hitting these consistently. Taronda got a nerf to her never-ending owl build. You guys happy about this?
I am happy about that. Yeah, I was like being barraged by those owls like every like 3 seconds, and then just okay, I dodged it, but my ally got hit. Here comes another one.
As someone who plays a lot of Tyrande, I'm a little bit sad about this, but hey,
I'm sure you are.
It had to go. It was nice being able to just throw owls like from seemingly nowhere and just constantly just churn them out. But anyways, the changes that happened: level 7, Huntress's Fury. This is actually not related to the owl build, but still, this is actually a little bit of a buff, I guess. Splash attacks from Tyrande against targets with Hunter's Mark to heroes and mercs. That's what that ability or that talent does. It now also increases the range of Hunter's Mark by 50%. But it's up against some competitive talents there, Darnassian Archery being one of them and True Shot Aura the other. And then level 13, this is where the nerf comes in. Empower, this is her W talent that gave her the the reduction on the cooldown time of her owl by 4 seconds per enemy hero hit, and the passive reduction as well. Now you only get a cooldown reduction of the owl by 2 seconds per hero hit, so it's not as like instantaneous owl. There's actually going to be a little bit of cooldown between the two. Hopefully getting rid of this build a little bit, if not all the way. We saw a build creep up for Tyrande maybe about a month ago that focused more on Darnassian Archery, and instead of Empower, they were taking the W that would slow the enemy heroes and reduce their power output, making her more of like a surprise gank assassin. Do we think that's going to be the kind of like is everyone going to fall back to that one again, or are we still going to see this never-ending owl build?
That's a good question.
I feel like the never-ending owl build it can end now. It's still, I feel like it's still pretty strong, but I feel like it's just going to be picked a bit less. People, if they want the peel, they're going to go again back to the damage reduction owl instead of this one or Empower. But I feel like it's still going to be like fairly strong.
And one thing to note too is if you make it so you can't just do never ending owls, this is something that stacks, right? Like if you take a level 1 talent that pairs well with this to increase the damage per enemy hero hit by 3% permanently, you're getting rid of a significant number of her stacks, especially later game. So I mean, I was playing with Stixa, who was on the show a couple months back, and he was loving. He was getting to like 100 owl stacks. He was like, oh, perfect. This is where he knew the exact point. He's like, now I can one hit Abathur. So we find Abathur, and then just as soon as he appears on the map, that's a dead Abathur. Good one shot Chromie, and the other benefit of it is that it does more damage the further the distance. So if you're shooting an Abathur, you typically on the other end of the map, but it's an easy shot if you can spot him. So he was making Abathur's day quite miserable, and now that is going to be significantly hindered because instead of hitting 100 stacks, maybe he'll be getting more like 70, so it won't be doing nearly as much damage in the late game. Okay, we're just going to kind of run through the rest of them here because as someone just told me, I guess we are running a little bit short on time. Just so much to talk about.
The Warriors now that we're gonna run through.
Yeah, I know. So there's only 4 more. There's not a terrible amount to talk about here. So let's go through these quick. Should only take us a few minutes. Mystic, we might have to cut your shakedown for the week. We'll have to see how much time we got when we get there. As per usual, the Mystic shakedown's the thing that get cut. So Chen got some talent shuffles. Level 1 Grounding Brew, that's where you get the spell armor while drinking, was removed and baked into a level 7 talent, Purifying Brew. That reduced the duration of stun and silences by 75% and reduced the cooldown of Fortifying Brew to 0. Just reset it, didn't reduce it to 0. It can now trigger every 15 seconds instead of every 45 seconds. And you get 30 spell armor while you're drinking. So that's where it is kind of the Grounding Brew is baked into it now. The only problem is it's up against Brewmaster's Balance, which has always been the go-to for Chen. A lot of people said the Brewmaster Balance should be baseline. However, what they're trying to do is make more competitive talent at 7. I'm not sure if that's necessarily the great way to go. What do you think, LiQuiuD?
Horrible changes, man. Horrible changes. I'm not a fan of any of the Chen. It's not a talent shuffle, man. It's a straight up nerf. Yeah. I mean, there may be somebody somewhere. Look, somebody somewhere is going to find a way to work around this and make Chen great again. but from what I can see, it's not good right now.
Somewhere Zexorus is crying. We know him as the Chen aficionado over at Heroes Power Hour. It'll be interesting to see what he thinks about this. So if you have a chance, tune into Heroes Power. I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say this week. So Dahaka got a nerf. Basic attack damage reduced by 5%. Dark Swarm damage reduced by 6%. He's highly picked in pretty much all levels of play. Do we need to see this?
No longer. Poor Dahaka. I mean, those changes needed to happen. Like, he's incredibly strong right now. He, for a long time, has been you first pick, you ban him if the map is larger than anything small. And even on the smaller maps, people were taking him because he's just that good. So it was a needed change, and hopefully it'll bring some variety to our drafts. Sorry, I was going blank on the word variety.
Couldn't think of something variety to say to variety. Eh? Okay, so Garrosh got some nerfs, and he's going to be a bit more mana intensive now. His mana was increased for his Q and E, but it was also reduced for his ultimate Decimate. Level 1 body check got a cooldown reduction from 20 to 16 seconds. I guess it makes sense since it wasn't taking as much as I expect Blizzard probably wanted it to. And level 7, into the fray, the greatest troll talent in the game that I love taking and having fun with friends with that. It's the friendly throw talent. The increase the cooldown of that from 30 to 40 seconds.
I mean, those needed to happen. Into the fray, I question a little bit, but I can see why. Like, that's one of those cases where Blizzard definitely has the data to determine that change needed to happen.
It's really strong.
Yeah. I love that talent. And like Mystic said, it was very strong too. Leoric got a buff. Entomb cooldown reduced from 75 to 60 seconds.
Please, sir, we made March of the Black King super strong, and we don't understand why you don't take Entomb. Look, it's shiny.
Yeah,
I feel like people will still take March of the Black King.
They will. There's nothing there. Like, look, if your comp specifically needs Entomb, you're going to take Entomb. But the reality is March of the Black King is the better heroic at this point to take, yeah. In a vacuum, March of the Black King wins.
But Entomb was so much fun, and it always will be. Throwing someone into that Entomb, oh, it feels so good, especially if you have a wombo combo to follow up with it. So the bug fix of the patch, and I was kind of hoping there'd be a funny one. This one's kind of, I don't know, I think it's kind of strange that this was an issue, but apparently Leoric could become invisible after exiting Zagara's Devouring Maw. I wish I saw this happen in game. So I don't know what the effect of that. I mean, maybe you see like spooky ghost coming out of Devouring Mars, or more like stealth mechanic. I don't know. I guess it was kind of a rare thing. I didn't hear about this bug until before, but that's the bug fix of the patch.
I want to go back real fast. Kids of Frank just pointed out a good thing.
Sure.
Don't underestimate Entomb on Volskaya's conveyor belts, man.
Ooh, yes. I didn't even think about that too.
That's Entomb move. That's just evil.
Yeah, going against the grain. There's like definitely a right direction.
Well, you're chasing them, right? You chase them on the conveyor, and they're going with the conveyor, and you drop it in front of them. And now where are they going to go? They can't run against the conveyor into you. That's too slow. And they can't go the other way because the tomb's blocking them in. That's evil.
I guess it'll be a little bit harder to hit too because they're getting away faster. So you got to make sure you time that properly.
Go further ahead. Yeah. Oh my God, that's awesome.
Okay, so we're going to skip Mystic's shakedown for the week because I believe Mystic's got an engagement at 9 o'clock, which we're already past. So sorry, Mystic, you're getting bumped for next week, but you know what? I guess you're probably used to this by now. Thanks everybody for listening to Nexus Trolls, a Heroes of the Storm podcast, which is streamed live on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/trollsgg, every week on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. LiQuiD, where can folks find you on this interwebs?
Best place to find me is Twitter at LiQuiDGG. That's LiQiuDGG.
And how about you, Mystic? Where can folks find you?
You can find me at Mystic Shroud on Twitter.
And if you're looking for me, you can find me at DazHots on Twitter. So yeah, I was trying to figure out what Mystic's Twitter account was, but I was having problems with my browser. You know what? I don't want to check it because I'm actually worried that he's actually got a more steady subscriber base than I do on Twitter. So maybe we'll leave that Twitter account for next week.
He's still got more followers than tweets. Okay.
Well, that's impressive in itself, right? So I'd like to thank all of our Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/trollsgg. If you like the show and you're looking for a way to support us, you can do so over there. You can toss us a couple bucks. You can also toss us a PayPal donation at paypal.me/trollsgg. You get that right, Liquid?
That's correct.
Perfect. Or you can subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you happen to find our podcasts online. There's great non-monetary ways to support us too by giving us a 5-star review on any of those sites, because it really does help with visibility. You can also visit our website at trolls.gg/TheNexusTrolls to watch us some past shows, along with past video streams, which can also be found on our YouTube channel. And Trolls GG, we're doing an official relaunch of it on Monday, is when we're slated for. I hate, as a developer, giving deadlines.
You
but
just gave a date.
I did. You never
do
give
that.
dates. But we're going to try and shoot for Monday. So hopefully next show we'll say, hey, we got a great new website. Come check it out. For announcements of the show and general Here's the Storm news, you can follow us on Twitter at TheNexusTrolls. If you want to hang out with the Trolls community in-game, you can /join /TrollsGG in-game or join our Discord channel. The link for that is at trolls.gg/Discord. And finally, if you need to get in touch with us, the best way is by email at TheNexusTrolls@trolls.gg. Liquid Mystic, thanks as usual, boys. Everybody, thanks for listening. Have a great week.